How's it going, everybody? And today we have Andrea Hunt. She's a mindset coach. She's actually right now um in Germany. So welcome, Andrea. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being on. I'm actually excited to learn about your expertise on how you help your clients build a positive mindset, self-esteem, and what techniques you use to kind of help what techniques you incorporate to help them get through their mental barriers. So can you tell me a little bit about, I guess, your background and how you got into mental health coaching?
Okay. Well, I've always been interested in personal growth and development like myself just before becoming a coach, just issues with confidence, limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, things that we all struggle with to some degree. And at the beginning, let's say, so at the beginning of or the end of 2019, I had a really good job and I got laid off because the
Mm.
parent company dissolved three of the departments. So we all lost our job. And I had been wanting to get into coaching for quite a while, actually. But then I played it safe. I got offered a new job, took it. I had all of these ideas like, no, I probably don't know what I'm doing. I probably couldn't start a business in Germany. Like, how would I even do this? So, I've dealt with all of these things myself on a personal level. And so I got the other job. And then, of course, COVID happened. So, I basically got laid off for the second time in like 1 year.
Oh
And I'm like, okay,
no.
universe, like, what is this? But I feel like it was really kind of a wake up call. Like, all right, if not now, when? Like, when are you going to do this? So, I enrolled in a coaching program and I got my own coach. And so, through that, that's how I really kind of got into it because I've always been, I love being a motivator. I love, being a communicator. My background is in journalism and communications, if you can't tell. So, I'm like always been somebody who's very interested in people and, their stories. And so EFT tapping is something that I've been doing for myself, for almost a decade because it stands for the emotional freedom technique. And it sounds funny, but it's just like, tapping on points of the face or like you have different acupuncture points on your body. And so
Right.
I started out using it for anxiety and stress because, during my master's program, like there just got to be a point where I couldn't handle having like so many finals in 1 week. And I was just at a point where like I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I was a total disaster mess. And so I had seen this video by Brad Yates and I was like, you know what? Like I'll try it. Like I have nothing to lose right now. I'm a total disaster. And so I tried it and I felt calmer. And so I'm like, okay, like there's something to this. Like I have to keep, kind of learning more about this. So during my coaching, like fast forward, I started noticing, I'm like, oh man, like I just know that this situation is something that I could, clear with, 15, 20 minutes of tapping. So I decided to get certified in that. And so that brings us up to speed. So now I use, a combination of transformational coaching for mindset and then also EFT tapping specifically for the limiting beliefs that might come up, anything from, sometimes, if we don't feel confident in certain situations, we might, panic or freak out beforehand or like, not want to go to a certain social situation or whatever it is. And so I found that it's been a really effective tool in my life. And now I can share it with other people.
That is fantastic. It seems like a very interesting thing, like just to think about a human being's mind and what they deal with, and just going inside to learn more about them is kind of fascinating because you can see their facial expressions, but you can't really tell what's on the inside unless you really go uh deep into it. It's almost like counseling in a sense, or mentoring, where you're talking to somebody and you're trying to gather as much information about them as you can. And in this case, you're trying to gather as much information as you can to learn about their mindset and
Mhm.
figuring out what's going on in their mind. So, what who or what motivated you to kind of get into mindset coaching?
Um, I guess because it's been such an important theme in my life, like always having to kind of push myself to go do things and having to kind of pivot. And so there's it's something that's really rewarding to me, when people have like a belief like it usually comes down to several key issues. Like a lot of times people have a fear of like being seen, being judged, making mistakes, failing, for example. That's of course a super common one. And a lot of people also have fear of success. Like,
Right.
okay, what if I did the thing that I wanted to do, and then what if I can't handle it? And what if, everybody finds out I'm a fraud and I don't know what I'm doing? And so being able to help people with this kind of thing has been super rewarding. I mean, it's I feel it's kind of my purpose, and I liked what I was doing before, but this is my path. So I'm grateful
Awesome.
to be on.
Speaking about that, like you mentioned how people kind of perceive you differently because of what you do. Have you ever encountered that experience where someone says, mindset coaching? I don't believe that thing works. I think it's a total sham. Like, have you ever had somebody tell you that, like, to you? Like,
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes people, I mean, we all have different personalities, and for some people, like I don't know if you know the DISC assessment, like DISC,
I've heard
but
about it.
people who are like D, usually they're like very decisive, very driven. And so for those kind of people, if they have a strategy, usually they just kind of go and do it and execute. And that's awesome for them. That is like an amazing trait, but not everybody works like that. For a lot of people,
Right.
they might have trouble with, confidence issues that might cause them to self-sabotage. And, self-sabotage is our way of, there's a quote by Brad Yates, and he says, it's just misguided self-love. Like maybe we want to apply for the job, but then we're like, yeah, and we put it off and we put it off, we procrastinate, and then it's not available anymore. And so there's a part of us that wants to feel safe and like not feel uncomfortable pushing ourselves, but is it really helpful in terms of our long-term growth? Not really.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you have to be really careful though. It's certain things. You don't know how people may react to it, because a
Hmm.
lot of people have different reactions to certain techniques and
Hmm.
certain things being used. So it's good that you take the public or who deal with into consideration when it comes to I guess introducing your your program, to them. It's almost like, for certain jobs, especially in the mentoring space where I'm at, I'm always encouraged to, when I speak to students or anyone, to talk to see what's in their best interest, what's in the best interest of the student or the individual I'm talking to before I even bring the program. The some programs could just come up by themselves when you start learning about the individual's needs or what they're dealing with. It'll just come up naturally. Let it come up
Hmm.
naturally versus you pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, pushing it. And I'm guilty of that. Because I used to be one of those that used to push a program instead of just thinking, what about the individual? Like, you don't
Hmm.
know much about them, but you're pushing a program to them. And then I realized I realized through a conversation with my superior that I was guilty of doing that. And I felt, I felt bad, obviously. And, I said, maybe it's something I have to work on. So now I've taken the approach to where I'm taking the individual into consideration versus pushing a program.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's important. I mean, because everybody's different, so the way that people react to things, and some people, especially like some people have tried things on their own. They know what their limitations might be, like when in terms of mindset, and they just want some help. And other people, they're just like come to some point where they're really frustrated and they don't know what they need. And so it's like people have completely different needs and requirements when it comes to mindset coaching.
Right. I'm glad you're there to kind of help those individuals, with their needs and in your own way, you know.
Yep.
So speaking about the you mentioned a couple quotes from, was it Brad Yates?
Brad Yates. I love him.
What book is that you're
So
reading?
he has a YouTube channel actually.
Oh,
So
YouTube
he's
channel.
he's been doing tapping for, I don't know, I think probably like 10, 12 years or something like that. I think he has thousands of videos on YouTube. And he always has a lot of good quotes, and like they have a tapping summit every year where he speaks, and he's one of my favorites. Like I really like um just he teaches a lot about like self-love and acceptance and dealing with some of, the confidence issues and stuff like that that we have.
Awesome. Kind of like what we do together, myself as a mentor and you as a mindset coach. It's pretty cool. We have
Yeah,
that in common.
absolutely.
So for those listening right now, what advice would you give them, uh, or to those that are dealing with any struggles, such as, employment, uh, really loving themselves, and just navigating through everyday life?
I think the first thing that I always usually tell my clients is like, take like a piece of paper first off and look at the different areas of your life. So whether it's like your health or your personal growth, like areas of confidence or areas that bring you fear, for example, finances, social life, personal life, and kind of try to rate those areas and be like, okay, what's working for me? What's not? Because a lot of times we don't really take stock of the big picture. Maybe we're doing great at work, but then we're neglecting our health because we're not sleeping well. We're like, I don't know, binge watching Netflix instead of going to the gym or something like that. Or people that are really good with their social life, but then maybe they're not, really caring about their job or something like that. So it's important to try to get an overview first of all, and then try to look at that and be like, all right, so if this area, I'm not doing very well in it, what's one thing that I could start to change to improve that, and also look at some of the beliefs that you might have, because a lot of times, we have some, how do I say it? Like, I hate to use the word excuses, but sometimes we do make excuses, like I don't have time. I just couldn't do that, those kind of things. Look at those areas and really get honest with yourself about like, okay, what is possible for me that I'm not doing, that I could
Right.
do if I just were to take one step. And a lot of times, when we try to do too much all at once, like people with like New Year's resolutions. This is a great example because everyone's like, all right, cool. I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. I'm going to start eating, vegan. I'm going to do this. And then it only lasts maybe like a week because it's just kind of too much to try to adjust
Right.
to. So if you're in a situation where, you lost a job or you're going through a breakup or some kind of big change, it's always better to look at each of the areas and be like, okay, what's one thing that I could do that's manageable, that I can, create proof for myself that I can do it,
Right. It's that burnout. Burnout is real.
Absolutely. It's happened to several of my friends. It's definitely everywhere, unfortunately.
So with that being said, where can my listeners find more information about you or inquire with you on your services?
My website is www.dreahunt.com. That's DREAHUNT. And I have a blog. I have lots of different articles on personal growth, also expat life since I'm living in Germany, and subjects that I'm passionate about, like travel. And they can also follow me on social media. Of course, it's Andrea Hunt, transformational life coach and EFT practitioner. I post a lot of stuff on there that's related to confidence and self-sabotage and limiting beliefs.
Awesome, awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time for being on today and really sharing your knowledge and expertise on mindset coaching and EFT tapping. That was really interesting. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
And thank you. And if you guys want to listen to this episode, you can go on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and every other major podcasting outlet out there. And with that being said, until next time, everybody, thank you, Andrea.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one, everyone.